Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have developing updates from Gaza today, and we are bringing you what is known and what remains unconfirmed. Reports from Israeli military channels state that a 21-year-old Israeli soldier was struck by sniper fire during ongoing ground operations inside Gaza City. Israeli statements describe the incident as a precision shot that hit a guard post location within an active combat zone in the city. Medical teams on site attempted life-saving measures, and the soldier was later declared dead according to those official communications. Palestinian resistance media, aligned with the Al-Qassam brigades, claim sniper activity in the same general area at around the same time frame. At this hour, there is no verified public identification of the shooter and no confirmed details about the sniper position or escape route. There is confusion online about the phrase 21-year-old sniper. That headline is being shared widely, but credible sources link the age to the fallen Israeli soldier rather than to the shooter. Independent verification of the sniper identity is still lacking, and investigators have not released conclusive imagery tied to this single event. This incident reflects the dangerous tempo of urban fighting that has continued for months across dense neighborhoods and ruined structures. Sniper engagements have become a recurring tactic in this war, and both sides describe operations involving long gun spotters and rapid relocation under fire. Urban terrain favors skilled marksmen who can exploit dead ground window frames, rubber lines, and narrow fields of view across alleys and intersections. Small units often respond to a sniper threat with smoke cover, armored shielding drone, overwatch, thermal spotting, and counter sniper fire from designated marksmen. Commanders typically pause movement after a precision hit and adjust routes, increase overhead protection, and rotate static posts to avoid predictable patterns. Each confirmed sniper incident carries tactical impact beyond the single shot, since it slows advances, forces a reset, and adds caution to every subsequent movement. The psychological effect of one accurate round can ripple through an entire company or battalion, creating hesitation and demanding additional reconnaissance on every doorway and rooftop. Civilians still present in contested blocks face heightened risk, because every flash of movement can be interpreted as a threat by jumpy units on both sides. Humanitarian corridors and pauses are difficult to sustain in zones where snipers and counter-snipers are maneuvering and swapping positions. This case also highlights the critical importance of information discipline in a modern war where a headline can outrun the facts within minutes. Audiences should watch for common signals of miscaptioned footage, including mismatched shadows, seasonal foliage that does not fit current weather, and uniforms from older phases of the conflict. Recycled combat clips and short edits often circulate without clear dates and can be stitched to unrelated events, which clouds public understanding and simmers anger. Responsible reporting therefore focuses on what can be confirmed, names units, locations, timing, and casualty status, and draws a line where details remain unverified. At this stage, the most solid data points remain the age of the Israeli soldier, the unit confirmation, the location description as Gaza City, and the cause cited as sniper fire. Palestinian claims emphasize the role of sniper ambushes as a method to slow Israeli advances inside built-up zones and to inflict casualties while avoiding large direct clashes. Israeli accounts emphasize force protection, rapid pursuit, and pressure on hostile teams believed to be operating behind lines or in multi-story positions. Both narratives serve strategic messaging purposes, and both seek to shape international opinion and domestic morale. On the ground, a sniper team often consists of a shooter and a spotter with a communications link to a small security element or to a larger formation ready to extract them. They favor upper floors with partial concealment, limited exposure, and a clear line of sight into predictable movement corridors like road bends and entryways to compounds. Countermeasures include thermal and infrared scanning drones with live video feeds, ladder teams checking rooftops from protected angles, and timed movements under smoke. Armored vehicles sometimes deploy slat armor or add-on shielding and use periscopes to reduce crew exposure to aimed fire at known choke points. Infantry units may vary standing orders for how long a guard remains in a fixed position and how often posts are rotated or doubled up under sniper threat. Another measure is to add improvised overhead cover at outposts using sandbag steel plates and concrete segments to break angles from elevated firing positions. In addition, planners study previous sniper incidents to map likely arcs of fire and to identify terrain features that encourage repeated ambushes, such as aligned windows across a boulevard. To understand today better, it helps to recall that this conflict has swung between heavy bombardment armored pushes and infantry clearing operations with periodic pauses and renewed contact. As built-up areas are reduced to rubble, new lines of sight open and old ones close, which constantly reshapes where a sniper can work and where a unit can move. Weather and visibility also influence the contest. Haze, smoke, and dust make it harder for optics, while night operations shift the balance toward thermal devices and active illuminators. The communications war runs parallel to the ground fight, and both sides highlight incidents that reinforce their stories of resilience, progress, or resistance. International audiences react strongly to personal details, And that is why the age of the fallen soldier features so prominently in coverage and commentary. Such details humanize the conflict, yet they can also be pulled into narratives that simplify complex military realities into emotionally potent slogans. Careful reporting tries to keep the focus on verified facts while acknowledging the powerful human dimension that makes these updates so painful for families and communities. In addition to military effects, sniper engagement shape negotiations and diplomacy because casualty figures shift domestic pressure inside each camp. Diplomats track these incidents in part because each loss can accelerate or undermine talks about pauses, humanitarian access, or the rules governing engagements near civilian sites. Legal frameworks remain a backdrop in every operation, with obligations to distinguish combatants from civilians and to avoid indiscriminate harm even when fighting is close and fast. Field commanders weigh those obligations against immediate risks to their forces and the tactical imperatives of seizing ground, holding ground, and protecting exposed supply lines. When a single shot halts a push, leaders are forced to choose between pressing forward at higher risk or resetting the plan at the cost of time and initiative. Observers will note whether Israeli units in this sector now shift to heavier armor presence, more engineering assets for breach and cover, or an expanded drone umbrella to police rooftops and windows. They will also watch whether Palestinian fighters continue to rely on small precision strikes that avoid direct confrontation, while seeking to stretch Israeli resources. In the coming days, the media environment will likely see more short clips claiming to show the sniper or the exact shot but without metadata. Many of these will remain suspect. Verification teams typically look for original uploads, consistent timestamps, and corroborating eyewitness reports before they label a video as genuine. A single clip that lacks those elements can still acquire millions of views and shape perceptions long before a correction arrives at the tactical level. The loss of a young soldier resonates inside his unit and reinforces the need for disciplined posture even when fatigue and routine tempt. Shortcuts in urban war routine kills, and the enemy seeks those predictable rhythms to strike with as little exposure as possible. Training stresses randomness in routes, rotations, and timing to defeat the watchful eye across the street or 2 floors up. Field improvisation stays critical, and commanders encourage soldiers to study recent contact points because patterns often repeat along the same walls, corners, and entry gaps. Sniper teams are trained to disengage quickly after a shot drop, decoys jam pursuit, and relocate through prepared paths that pass undercover or through adjoining apartments. Counter teams attempt to channel them into traps with blocking positions and quiet surveillance rather than loud immediate chases that risk ambush. Drones have changed this cat and mouse game, and their buzzing presence can either deter a shot or draw fire that reveals a position. Yet drones are not a cure-all because line of sight limitations, electronic interference, and building geometry can hide a shooter for the seconds that matter. Thermal signatures can be masked with insulation, wet cloth, or body positioning that reduces the visible silhouette across a window frame. With each engagement, both sides collect lessons about angles, timing, deception, and the balance between patience and aggression. Leadership also monitors the morale effects, since a sniper hit sends shock through a network of families, peers, and followers who track events minute by minute. Public reactions then feed back into political narratives and policy decisions about the pace and scale of operations. International stakeholders respond too, with statements that urge restraint, condemn specific acts, or call for renewed efforts to protect civilians and aid workers. The humanitarian picture remains dire, and every episode that triggers more fighting narrows the window for delivery of food, water, medical supplies, and fuel. Medical teams continue to face the dual challenge of mass casualty preparation and targeted trauma response under conditions that shift hour by hour. For the audience, it is vital to separate what is known from what is speculated, and to resist the pull of dramatic claims that arrive without credible sourcing. At this point, it is accurate to say that a 21-year-old Israeli soldier has died from a sniper shot during ground operations in Gaza City, according to Israeli military reporting. It is also accurate to say that Al-Qassam-linked media have highlighted sniper activity and claimed responsibility for attacks in that area during this period. It is not accurate to assert that the sniper was 21 years old because that claim lacks verification and misreads the age reported for the fallen soldier. We encourage a careful reading of updates that specify unit name, location, and context because those tend to reflect formal releases rather than rumor. We also caution that wartime fog affects even official channels, which sometimes revise details after investigations conclude. When you encounter map graphics, check whether the streets or districts align with known urban layouts rather than generic city imagery. If a video claims to show the exact shot, look for continuity between the camera angle, muzzle flash trajectory, and the stated location and time. Authentic reporting benefits from patience and from the humility to admit that some answers will take time to surface. Families on all sides deserve accuracy and dignity, particularly when news concerns the death of a young person whose life has ended in war. Our role is to present the clearest picture available and to explain what each piece of information means within the larger operational and humanitarian context. Sniper warfare by its nature tells a story of seconds of silence and one decisive moment followed by a cascade of consequences for soldiers and civilians alike. That pattern sadly repeated in Gaza City, where a single round ended a life and reshaped the movements of many others in the hours that followed. As the situation evolves, professional observers will study whether this incident leads to new protective measures or shifts in tactics across adjacent sectors. They will watch for changes in guard post construction, more armored overwatch, and altered patrol cycles designed to reduce exposure during predictable tasks. They will also analyze whether Palestinian units attempt follow-on shots in the same corridor or choose a new district to avoid concentrated countermeasures. Strategists will compare this event to prior engagements to chart whether snipers are creating operational pause points that change the tempo of entire brigades. They will consider whether these precision attacks are synchronized with other actions like explosive devices, mortar harassment, or information releases that amplify the effect. None of this lessens the human tragedy at the center of today's event, and it should not distract from the immediate reality felt by the family of the fallen. In every war, young people from different communities pay with futures that are cut short, and parents carry a grief that never ends. That truth sits behind the headlines and should guide how we speak about casualties and how we weigh claims and counterclaims in the days ahead. Viewers should expect more arguments online about responsibility, intention, and consequence, and they should remember that clarity emerges slowly from the fog of war. Accuracy lives in the details and in the discipline to keep those details straight, even when the narrative urges us to jump to conclusions. We will end this update with the verified core of the story and the measured context around it. A young Israeli soldier aged 21 is dead after sniper fire during ground operations in Gaza City. Palestinian resistance media, aligned with Al-Qassam, highlight sniper activity in that area and celebrate the tactical effect of such actions. Investigators have not confirmed the identity of the shooter or the exact firing position, and the age of the sniper remains unknown. Urban combat continues with a mix of armor, infantry, drones, engineering units, and information operations vying for advantage across a fractured battlefield. Humanitarian needs remain severe, and each clash complicates aid delivery, safety, and medical support for civilians trapped between lines. The information space remains contested, and audiences should filter claims through the lens of sourcing, timing, and cross-verification. We appreciate your commitment to facts and your patience with the careful process of sorting signal from noise in a conflict that changes by the hour. Stay cautious about viral headlines that oversimplify complex events, and lean on details that can be checked across multiple credible channels. Thank you for staying informed with us today and for valuing clarity and care in how we approach news from a battlefield that continues to test every assumption we hold.